Okay, kids, we will continue our reading Genesis chapter 7 to 9. Genesis chapter 7, the Great Flood. Then the Lord said to Noah, "Come into the
Ark.
you and all your,
Household.
because I have seen that you are
Righteous before me.
in this generation. You shall take with you 7 each of every clean, a male and his,
Female.
2 each of animals that are unclean, a male and his,
Female.
also 7 each of birds of the male and female, to keep the species
Alive.
on the face of all the
Earth.
For after 7 more days, I will cause it to
Rain.
on the earth 40 days and 40,
Nights.
and I will destroy from the face of the earth all living things that I have
Created.
made. And Noah did according to all that the Lord
Commanded
him.
him.
Noah was 600 years old when the flood waters were on the earth. So Noah with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives went into the ark because of the waters of clean animals, of animals that are unclean, of birds, and of everything that creeps on the earth. 2 by 2 they went into the ark to Noah, male and
Female.
as God had commanded
Them.
Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were on the
Earth.
in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month. On that day, all the fountains of the great deep were louder
Broken.
broken up, and the windows of heaven were,
Opened.
and the rain was on the earth 40 days and 40.
Nights.
Louder, please.
Nights.
Okay. On the very same day, Noah and Noah's sons, Shem,
Ham and Japheth.
and Noah's wife and the 3 wives of his sons with them entered the
Ark.
they and every beast after its,
Time.
all cattle after their
Time.
every creeping thing that creeps on the earth after its,
Time.
and every bird after its,
Time.
every bird of every sort. And they went into the ark to Noah, 2 by 2 of all flesh, in which is the breath of.
Life.
So those that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut. Now the flood was on the earth 40 days. The waters increased and lifted up the ark, and it rose high above the
Ground.
earth. The waters prevailed and greatly increased on the
Earth.
and the ark moved about on the surface of the waters, and the waters prevailed exceedingly on the earth, and all the high hills under the whole heaven were covered. The waters prevailed 15 cubits upward, and the mountains were covered, and all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds and cattle, and beast, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and every man, all in whose nostrils was the breath of
Life.
the spirit of life. All that was on the dry land.
Time.
So he destroyed all living things which were on the face of the ground, both man and cattle, creeping thing and bird of the air. They were destroyed from the earth. Only Noah and those who were with him in the ark remained,
Alive.
and the waters prevailed on the earth 150.
Days.
Chapter 8, Noah's deliverance. Then God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the animals that were with him in the
Ark.
And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters subsided. The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were also stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the waters receded continually from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the waters decreased. Then the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, on the mountains of,
Ararat.
and the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains were. So it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. Then he sent out a
Raven.
which kept going to and fro until the waters had dried up from the earth. He also sent out from himself a dove to see if the waters had receded from the face of the ground. But the dove found no resting place for the sole of her,
Foot.
and she returned into the ark to him, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand and took her, and drew her into the ark to,
Himself.
and he waited yet another 7,
Days.
and again he sent the dove out from the ark. Then the dove came to him in the evening, and behold, a freshly
Plucked olive leaf.
was in her mouth. And no one knew that the waters had receded from the earth. So he waited yet another 7 days, and sent out the dove, which did not return again to him.
Anymore.
And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, that the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and indeed the surface of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dried. Then God spoke to Noah, saying, Go out of the,
Ark.
you and your wife, and your sons
Wives.
with you. Bring out with you every living thing of all flesh that is with you, birds and cattle and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, so that they may abound on the earth, and be on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him. Every animal, every creeping thing, every bird, and whatever creeps on the earth, according to their families, went out of the
Ark.
God's covenant with creation. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and took of every clean animal and of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And the Lord smelled a. Then the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground for man's, although the imagination of man's heart is from his youth. Nor will I again destroy every living thing as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and
Harvest.
cold and heat, winter and and day and
night
shall not.
cease.
Chapter 9. So God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, Be
Fulfill and multiply.
and fill the
Earth.
and the fear of you and the
Dread of you.
shall be on every beast of the earth, on every bird of the air, on all that move on the earth, and on all the fish of the sea. They are given into your every moving thing that lives shall be food for. I have given you all things, even as the green, but you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is its blood. Surely for your lifeblood I will demand a reckoning. From the hand of every beast I will require it, and from the hand of man. From the hand of every man's brother I will require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's,
Blood.
by man his blood shall be, for in the image of God he made man. And as for you, bring forth abundantly in the earth and multiply in it. Then God spoke to Noah and to his sons with him, saying, And as for me, behold, I established my covenant with you and with your after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the cattle, and every beast of the earth with you, of all that go out of the ark, every beast on the earth. Thus I establish my covenant with you. Never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood. Never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you, and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I set my in the cloud, and it shall be for the sign of the covenant between me and the it shall be when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the shall be seen in the cloud, and I will remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living creatures of all flesh. The waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. The rainbow shall be in the cloud, and I will look on it to remember the everlasting between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the And God said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. Noah and his sons. Now the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, and Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from this the whole earth was populated. And Noah began to be and he planted a, then he drank of the wine and became uncovered in his, and Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his, and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both their shoulders, and went backward and covered the nakedness of their faces were turned away, and they did not see their fathers. So Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done to him. Then he said, Cursed be a servant of servants. He shall be to his. And he said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of, and may Canaan be his. May God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. And Noah lived after the flood 350 years. So all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he.
died.
That's all. Good night, kiddos. Good night. Oh. Oh no.